I'm Frank Kwan, Chair of National PTA's Communications Committee, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the PTA Take Your Family to School Week Roundtable. We're in Los Angeles County, here at the Office of Education, and are fortunate to have some of California and the city's top education experts on hand to discuss the state of education and the importance of family engagement in supporting student success and building great school communities. In many ways, California is taking the lead in family engagement in education. So we're here to spotlight the state's efforts in hopes that parents across the country can better engage in their children's schools. Nationally, PTA is celebrating Take Your Family to School Week from February 16th through February the 20th. PTAs and schools nationwide are hosting a variety of events incorporating the theme, Supporting Student Success. The initiative is designed to encourage families to visit their children's school and spotlight the importance of partnerships among parents, teachers, and administrators to student success. The timing of the week honors the day PTA was founded on February 17, 1897. PTA Take Your Family to School Week is sponsored by the AXA Foundation of AXA US, and we definitely want to thank AXA for their support. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. Otha Thornton, President of National PTA. Since taking the helm at National PTA in 2013, Mr. Thornton has become a leading voice for parental involvement in schools. His efforts have led to a surge in the number of men joining PTA and a renewed effort to focus on the educational challenges of diverse populations. Dr. Arturo Delgado, Los Angeles County Superintendent of Schools, and our host here at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. The top education leader of the nation's most populous and diverse county, Dr. Delgado is responsible for ensuring the financial and academic stability of 80 K-12 school districts, which serve more than 2 million preschool and school-age children. Justine Fisher, California State PTA President-elect. Ms. Fisher has held numerous leadership positions in local PTAs as well as at the state level. During the past 4 years, she's been deeply involved in providing training and outreach to parents to help them understand and engage in their schools. Josephine Lucy, California School Boards Association, immediate past president. Ms. Lucy served as president of CSBA during 2014 and remains a member of the association's executive committee. The association represents the state's more than 1,000 local school districts and county offices of education and more than 5,000 locally elected school board members. Ms. Lucy also currently serves as a board member in the Cupertino Union School District in Santa Clara County. And finally, Dr. Ramona Bishop, California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators. President-elect and Vallejo Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. Bishop has dedicated her life to improving education for all children, serving in many school and district-level leadership roles. Dr. Bishop is also president-elect, as I mentioned, of CAASA, a group of educational leaders committed to identifying and addressing critical issues in education through public policy relative to the status and performance of African American students in California. So let's kick off the discussion by asking National PTA President Otha Thornton to set the stage by defining family engagement in schools and telling us why it's so important.
Well, first off, Frank, thank you. It's very good to be here in Los Angeles today. National PTA defines family engagement as a shared responsibility across the context from cradle to career as far as our children are concerned. So we have over 30 years of experience that shows the valuable impact of family engagement in our schools, both students and schools. When families are engaged, students are likely to earn higher grades, better test scores, attend school regularly, and just have better social skills, pass their classes, and graduate and go on to post-secondary education. Family engagement also has been identified as one of the 5 essential ingredients for school reform.
Well, thank you, and it's pretty clear that family engagement is really a critical component of student success. So let's see what's happening here in California. Justine, let's start with you in terms of what do you see are some of the challenges for student engagement and getting parents involved?
Well, what we know is that student success, parents are a large portion of that, and working with the classroom teacher, and working with the schools. And getting parents engaged it can be a daunting task in some ways because it's kind of a scary atmosphere out there often. And you have to engage parents in a way that you have to meet them where they are. It's not always the best thing to say, we're just meeting at the school district office, come on down. I mean, that isn't the best way. In California, we have so many languages. We have kids of varying needs and various socioeconomic levels. And to meet their needs, parents who know what they need best need to be engaged in it. So it's a challenge in the sense of we need to meet parents where they are, and we need to be able to engage them in a method of communication in which they can participate.
Let's see how this looks in terms of from the district level, and turn to Josephine. How are school boards embracing this new requirement in California to engage parents actively in decision making and providing opportunities, I think, for parents to get involved so they can be active partners in their own children's education?
Sure. You know, the role of a school board member has always been to represent the community. So it's, I think, sort of a spotlight and a focus on this role. And so the new legislation formalizes and puts a process in place, a transparent process to highlight the importance of making sure that your community, and particularly your parents, are involved in and know what's going on in the schools. And I think this year in particular is the first year where the LCAP plans rolled out. Districts, superintendents and boards together have done a really good job of trying to reach out in new and different ways to kind of pull in and listen to very concretely what parents and community members are saying about their schools. We've seen a variety of mechanisms from district-wide town hall meetings at individual school sites. We've seen districts bring in translators, we've seen surveys, we've seen districts do babysitting, and a lot kind of depends on what the district is like. What happens in a district with 500 students is a little different than what happens in a district with 5,000 students, and perhaps different than 50,000. So tuning the outreach program specifically to the needs of that community and that school has been important, I think. And maybe one last thought. I've been on several different statewide committees. It's a Superintendent's Council with the California School Boards Association and an LCAP sort of roundtable with the California School Boards Association. And what I'm really encouraged by is the amount of sharing that goes on from superintendent to superintendent, and the ideas and the new ways to communicate that are sort of cross-pollinating across districts. I think it's a really exciting time for California.
You know, people involved in education in schools love acronyms, so perhaps you can explain to us LCAP, though,
Sure.
just for people who don't know what that means.
LCAP is the Local Control Accountability Plan, which is a new document that every district is required to produce that talks about how you're spending the money that you're getting from the state. So how your base grant is spent, how your supplemental grant is spent, how your concentration grant is spent. And it tries to lay out a 3-year process for goals that you want to achieve, tied to student achievement for different subgroups within your student population. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dr. Delgado, let's look at maybe what family engagement looks like here in Los Angeles County a bit, particularly for our County Office of Education. If you could just tell us a bit about what's going on in terms of what you see as effective and meaningful family engagement.
I'd be glad to. It ranks very high within the Los Angeles County Office of Education. We have really a broad range of regionalized support services that we do have available to parents. Our Head Start division, let's begin there, for example, has taken steps to increase the father engagement in our communities. We really can't overstate the importance of the father's participation in what goes on in the lives of their children, from social behavior to academic achievement to sense of self-worth and self-esteem. All of these measurements go up dramatically when the fathers are engaged. So we've put a lot of emphasis in trying to get our fathers involved. In 2013, for example, we launched our father engagement initiative, Be a Hero, Take Your Child to School Day. And even though that sounds like almost in some cases people might think sounds a little corny, it really has some great value for the kids. We see the kids take a lot of pride in their fathers coming with them to school. Last year alone, we had 4,000 who attended school with their preschoolers. So we were very happy about that. Also last year, we added a separate event, Dad's Family Day, that attracted over 500 dads and families to Robert F. Kennedy Community Schools. And for those dads, it was the beginning, for many of them, the beginning of their involvement with their kids in a school setting. And so we were very happy to see and got some them engaged in that, and very happy to hear their comments. We also have 3 parenting curriculum. Abriendo Puertas is one of them, Incredible Years a second, and then Center on the Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning. Our Head Start also ensures that families receive services in communities including adult education, job training, English as a second language or ESL. 97% of our over 13,700 of enrolled Head Start families, and 96% or 520 enrolled early Head Start families have received at least one of these services.
Well, I think all of that is very much in the theme of taking your family to school. So that all fits. There's some innovation I hear in there, and maybe I'll turn to Dr. Bishop now and see some of the things that you're doing in your own district that are pretty innovative in terms of reaching out to parents and families, and particularly what you see as the impact of those innovative kind of efforts that you've been making.
Thank you. So yes, there's a renewed effort on parent engagement in our schools in California. We're excited about that. There's also been this long-term effort under Title I to ensure that families are engaged in school. So when I came to the Vallejo City Unified School District about 4 years ago, we really wanted to think about how we could build a system, build an amazing school system, but we wanted to do it in concert with the community. Because at some time, you know, I'm a superintendent, so superintendents go away and the community is left with the educational system. And so we've worked very hard to listen to our parents as we reviewed data. We've listened to our parents and listened to their innovative ideas and began to plan 4 years ago about what our school system would look like. And the outcome of that has been a number of things which are now encapsulated in the LCAP and we'll be utilizing our LCFF funding for. Those things include being a full-service community school district. We're on every campus. We have an academic support provider that's responsible for being kind of a community organizer and a resource-rich person that can connect the families to school, especially the disengaged families. The outcome has been that we've built a K through 12 STEAM school district, science, technology, engineering, arts integration, and mathematics, where we're not waiting until students get to high school to say, let's have a focus for you. We're actually starting early. What we know is that our young girls, our young kids of color, early decide, I'm not good in math or science. So we're starting young, and we're saying that by the time you get to high school, you'll have a real intense understanding of math and science, and then you'll choose what area you'll go into. And then lastly, I think one of the biggest innovations is our wall-to-wall academies at our high schools. Every 11th grader is now enrolled in a high interest academy, again, organically grown with the community. And by 12th grade, by next year, we'll have every 12th grader in a small learning community. So basically that means that we have broken that comprehensive, huge high school down into small learning communities with specialized staff. And we have programs like biotech. Our kids are going to be employable in the biotech industry, be able to work their way through college. We have visual and performing arts for the creative kids. And so when you think and you listen and you throw the data out to families and actually give them an understanding of what the data says, then I think if you really listen, not just to the parents who were successful in school, but to all parents, listen to parents who weren't even successful about what they need, then we can build a network of support for all kids to be successful in our K through 12 systems. And we're excited about the programs we've built.
And I think it's probably, or should be, fairly obvious that every family, no matter what their ethnicity or their socioeconomic status, really wants their children to succeed and get a high quality education. And I think, Dr. Bishop, you pointed out some of the things that you're doing in your district. And maybe I'll turn to Dr. Delgado and Dr. Bishop, maybe we'll come back to you right after this, but essentially, what what do you see as being done in terms of new opportunities to get parents engaged, new communities that haven't been engaged before? Are there things that the county office is doing in terms of reaching out to those kinds of parents?
Well, we're always looking at ways to expand what we're doing. I mean, there's really a need for that. It seems that over the years, we talk about it a lot and then don't always find the right mechanism or via to be able to do that. But we have created a number of different pathways for our parents to become involved and to form partnerships with them. For example, here at the Los Angeles County Office of Education, we're really proud that our first Head Start PTA in the nation was chartered in Laco. And so when we talk about PTAs and we talk about Head Start, usually people don't think of it that way, but there really is quite a bit of interest by our parents to be engaged through a PTA that way. We also have launched the first juvenile hall PTA. I think there's a myth that says that parents don't get too involved anymore if kids are suffering from some type of social behavior of that nature. But we have a PTA, the very first and the only one that we know of in the nation, in one of our juvenile halls. About 100 parents whose sons or daughters are detained in Nydorf Juvenile Hall, whose sons or daughters are detained at that hall, joined forces with our school to improve the educational programs for those kids. This groundbreaking partnership, I believe, and the Head Start PTA serves as a national model. I think it does serve notice that it can be done. Others should do it. Laco has established also 20 active community day school parent, teachers, student associations, or PTSAs that provide parents the tools that they need to assist their children achieve the academic success that they should. And these PTSAs serve about 1,000 families. We've also hired a new parent education specialist who concentrates solely on reaching out to parents. We never have had that here in the county office, so that's a new position, and we think that's going to be money well spent, and I think it's going to pay dividends over and over again. Each PTSA meets quarterly to discuss issues and concerns impacting student learning. They meet to discuss ways to develop leadership, communication, parenting skills, and the like, and then other topics that such as tutoring strategies and drug prevention and those types of issues.
Dr. Bishop, we've heard about ways in which you're trying to engage different types of communities of parents that typically haven't been approached before. Any other thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. In the LCFF funding, we allocated money for bilingual parent liaisons and parent liaisons that come from the various communities. We're excited about that. We have a growing population of Spanish-speaking students and families in our district. And so that was one of the things that we really wanted to ensure, that every time a parent comes and they speak Spanish, that they don't feel like they have to wait around for us, that they can actually access the school system and be a working part of what it is that we're doing on a regular basis. I would say that also what we've done is our administrative retreats are interesting because they're no longer just the administrators.
You need to retitle those.
Yes, we should. We should call them community retreats, because every school is required to have a design team, and on that design team serves several parents from the community. And again, it's not the one who just went to college and is the regular, one that is on your nerves all the time. It's all parents, male, female, from various cuts of the community and various levels of socioeconomics. These design teams also are comprised of teachers. And so all of our training is all of those individuals. You could see 300 people at these so-called administrative retreats, and we're all getting the information at the same time. And so when it comes to our building, when it comes to parents grabbing the mic at the board meeting and speaking about our programming, they're speaking from a place of knowledge as opposed to a place of being left out or not understanding what it is that we're doing.
So you're really seeing an impact here, or some results
Yes.
from your, quote, administrative conferences,
That
meetings,
is correct.
in that you're seeing that parents at your board meetings coming in and they're better prepared to actually fully participate in that decision-making process?
Absolutely. And when they come, they are supporting the work that we are doing. We can say we are building these programs together, and therefore it makes it much easier.
Well, President Thornton, so what's National PTA doing to support all of these efforts that we're hearing about?
Well, we first of all, most of our programs are based on the national standards for family and school partnerships. And basically the 6 particular areas are first welcoming families into schools, communicating effectively, communicating with parents where they are. Number 3, supporting student success. Understanding, that in order for a child to do well, you have to meet the needs of that child. The 4th one is that of being an advocate for every child. The 5th one is sharing power. As the superintendent talked about, having parents involved in the decision making process, for the best of their schools, because they know their children, they know their community, and that's very important. And with PTAs, we expect the same thing, and those are things that we're working on and getting better, that we're sharing power at every level in PTA. And then the last particular one is engaging the communities. And that's very important, that you are working with community groups and organizations to help support children. And like this week, we're here, we Take Your Family to School Week. That's just another way that we're engaging families by hosting these type events and going into the schools. It really makes a big difference in our schools. So this year we have at least 200 PTA units that are hosting these Take Your Family to School events each year. We also launched the National PTA School of Excellence. And for that particular program, it helps strengthen these partnerships, the 6 standards that I discussed. We have a database of best practices. And once in areas of education, health, safety, and arts, and once we survey the schools, we're able to look at their specific situation and give a roadmap to reach that School of Excellence status. Also, we have the Family Reading Experience. With the Family Reading Experience, it's just another family engagement program that we have, and it's working in partnership with Amazon and Kindle, and we've been able to develop a program and disseminate thousands of donated Kindle readers to PTAs to help them engage in these areas of literacy over the last couple of years.
Do you think these type of programs, such as Take Your Family to School and the other things that you've mentioned, do you think because of the visibility that comes with them, that helps motivate more parents across the board in terms of being able to participate because they see an activity that they can join in on?
Yes, it makes a difference, and what they see, again, when parents or the loving adults or caring adults are involved in a child's education, it really makes a difference. It helps them with their confidence, and it encourages and draws other people. So yes.
Justine, how does this all translate here in California? Because that's a national effort. What happens to make sure that these resources, these programs, these activities actually make it to the local level?
So here in California, we've been really fortunate as we've seen the local control funding formula, our new funding for education roll out, and our local control accountability plans and all the 8 state priorities that are required now under the law. We've been so fortunate in California State PTA to work with National PTA, where we have this wonderful assessment guide of family school partnerships that very easily draws out for school districts and superintendents a way to engage their families authentically and have a good set of markers to say, wow, we're doing that well, and maybe we should work better here. We do encourage our units, our schools, to participate in all the wonderful programs that National PTA provides. And we also here in California specifically have some programs that help with this local control funding formula and local control accountability plan. We have these local control accountability plan, or LCAP, quick guides, which I absolutely love. They're on the capta.org website. And they're a great way for families to ask some questions, parents or caregivers, to say, oh, look, I'm curious about school climate. I'm curious about parent engagement. I'm curious about what's happening to my child at school, and I can answer these. I can ask these questions, and so that's great. We also have a wonderful opportunity with ed100.org, which is a learning website for parents to understand the local control funding formula and local control accountability plans and their role in that. So that's wonderful. And then, of course, what my actual really totally favorite thing about PTA is our award-winning parent engagement program called the School Smarts program, because I've seen firsthand to have parents who've never felt comfortable being in a school when they were a student or now as a parent come into a school and participate with teachers and their children and feel like they are making a difference in their child's lives, that they can feel comfortable talking to the teacher, that success is on everybody's mind, and that at the end of this time together, they've built a community, they understand how important their role is, they feel comfortable talking to their teacher, their principal, their superintendent, and they're empowered to make a change in not only their child's life, but their community's life. And so to me, that's just why every day I do the work I do as a volunteer, because when you see that, it makes all of that just come into place.
You know, you need to be a little more enthusiastic
know.
about this. I'm sorry.
I
but,
love
yeah.
parent engagement. That's one of my favorite things ever.
Let me ask you this, because you enumerated a large number of potential resources that are available, and I think PTA is very good about that, providing those kind of resources. California is perhaps one of the largest PTA units. Is that both a benefit and perhaps a bit of a challenge in terms of making sure that these resources, people are aware of what the resources are, because it's such a big state?
You know, I would say there's probably a few people that don't know how to access it, but the one thing about PTA people that I've always noticed, and as you can tell from me, we're passionate and we like to share and we like to talk with everyone about it. We like to communicate. We have multi-levels of communication. We have people at the local level. We have people within school districts. We have a website. We are able to do information. We're able to take nationals information and share it with people, because we know in PTA the most important things are building these communities, getting people the information they need, giving them resource to help their child. I mean, we're all in this because we value our children and we value their education, because they're our future. And that's why I think every one of us gets up every morning and does the work we do.
Let me ask Dr. Delgado, because we heard from Dr. Bishop as well. In terms of, this is the other side of the partnership in a sense, is the school part. You know, what are schools doing? Dr. Delgado, what kind of tools and resources does the County Office of Education, does it provide in terms of helping to support the effort in terms of parent engagement?
Yeah, we do provide a good number of services and programs related to parent engagement and outreach of families. And these topics range anything from early childhood education to parenting and literacy classes, job development and work career preparation. So let's take our Head Start as an example again. A state preschool offers a comprehensive services to pregnant women, children from birth to age 5, and to their parents. So we include their parents in those programs. We also provide resources and support through our Family Engagement and Instructional Leadership and Early Childhood Foundation, or education, which works with our district PTAs. And so we provide resources, technical assistance, and in training for school districts and the communities to build their capacity to start their own programs and to help themselves. And we then also turn to looking at programs that focus on parent involvement for after school enrichment and adult education and child rearing, child care training and the like. So our student support services delivers specialized help in this area for health, in particular to health services for families, including dental disease prevention and as well as early prevention programs in mental health. And so they also offer assistance and leadership to help provide safe and secure learning environments for children and families, including conflict resolution, which we think is a growing need within our families to be able to help them work out the problems within themselves. And then one last thing I'll mention, that's our Greater Avenues for Independence, or our GAIN program. Helps parents who are welfare recipients to build self-sufficiency through employment. So we assist them in getting in preparation for the next job that they might be able to attain to themselves. So we're very happy about that.
What I'm hearing is that these are the student populations that county offices in California serve, students who are at risk, particularly the ones you mentioned about in terms of the so-called welfare to work and this type of thing. So what I'm also hearing, though, is that we're designing in components, parent engagement components, to work with those different populations of students?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's just, like I said, I think I said this earlier, it's unfortunate that we've waited so long to really address this to the detail that we are, but we're very proud here at the LA County office that we actually have had some of these programs for some time. There is a little bit more funding coming through. I think even our state funding and our federal funding looks at that now and does see the value in it for us. So there is some assistance with that. So we're real proud of our programs.
Dr. Bishop, you're a superintendent, and you mentioned your administrators conference. What is being done in terms of your organizations for the training and supporting administrators so that they can help better engage families? Because they're pretty much on the front line type of thing along with the students. Yeah. And I found from my own experiences sometimes is that sometimes maybe you need to help support administrators in terms of helping them understand how to better engage parents. Is that what's taking place in your district?
Yes, it is, and even statewide. So we, the California African American Superintendents and Administrators Association, received a grant from the California Endowment to provide equity workshops, not just for administrators, but we started with the school board members. So we had a workshop attached to the California School Board Association conference. We had a workshop attached to the Superintendent's Conference. We'll have a workshop attached to the PTA conference. We're excited about that partnership because we really want to make sure that our administrators and our parents are working together and that our parents have the tools that they need, all parents, to access these administrators and have a conversation with them. I love what you said about the tools with regard to the LCAP, LCFF. I have to be honest, at the beginning, I was looking at the PTA's tools because we were all trying to figure out what was going on. And so I thought that the PTA came out front and had some amazing resources for people who were really trying to figure all of this out in the complexity of when it rolled out. And lastly, we'll be working with, we have our own conference in March where we're really talking about strategies to address the needs of all students, particularly those who have been historically underserved. So we're doing a lot of work in this area.
We hear about this local control funding formula. This is California specific.
Yes.
This is a webcast. It can go anywhere.
Correct.
Type of thing. So maybe I will ask Josephine, for other states that may be considering this type of parent involvement legislation, where it's actually built into the legislation, what have we learned, and or could you share from our own experiences here in California, which you might be able to share so that what could be done legislatively in other states? Sure.
I think maybe three things you need to think about. One is the importance of local control. Also, sort of a meaningful and structured approach to change. And the last is probably simply resources. So to maybe go back to local control, if you look at the state of California, we have districts in the Central Valley with 500 students, and then we have LA County, which, LA, which is huge. Different needs in different areas, and the importance of local control allows districts to meet the needs of their constituents, of their students, of their parent population. And I just don't think I can overstate how important it is to have that flexibility at the local level to meet local needs. I think the other thing I might say, and Dr. Bishop would agree, is that here in California we've gone through a lot of change in a very short amount of time. Common Core has been accepted and is being implemented in California. We have our local control funding formula, which is shifting how we send our resources out to districts. It changes what districts get in terms of different districts are getting different amount of money. We have our SBAC testing, which instead of a paper and pencil is now very reliant on computers, which is a huge expense for many districts, and for some districts a challenge in terms of connectivity. So a lot of change in a short amount of time. Any other state kind of moving in this direction, I would say parse out your change and be systematic about what you're doing and how you move that change forward. And the last thing I would say is resources are critical. California is one of the lowest states in the nation in terms of per pupil funding. You know, people sort of think that local control funding formula is giving us new money or more money, and it's not. It's just rearranging the money we have, distributing it in a slightly different way. And sometimes you really get what you pay for. And if you're really going to try and raise student achievement, provide a quality education access for all students, you have to fund it. And so I think the next thing I would say to states is public education matters. It matters, I think, more than anything else that we do. It is the future of our country, of our economy, of our students, and it deserves to be funded well. So 3 things.
Justine, you are, in a sense, the beneficiary of LCFF, the Local Control Funding Formula, because of parent involvement. What about your experience so far? What would you be able to share for other states who might be looking at this and saying, is this worthwhile? Is it worth the effort? What are the benefits? So far, what have you found?
Well, you know, I would say I've been, my children are now young adults, but I have been an advocate for families being involved with children for more than 20 years. And so I feel like finally there's been some attention paid. You know, it's one thing to make a law about something, and it's another thing to be committed to that. I'm proud of California for understanding the key role that parents and, you know, teachers, because in a child's life, 2 of the most important groups of adults are their parents or their caregiver and their teacher. I mean, those are key. Those are the things we carry with us as we get older. So I think I'm proud of California for that. My advice I would give is make the commitment to it, make the resources available, do the communication, spend time talking at the table, figure out how it's going to work. And when it gets a little bumpy, don't give up. It's a work in progress. And you know, if for this time in California's history and education, although I would like to see us be much higher in the average level of funding for a California student. I feel like that everyone is really aware that we're all doing this together. I feel like it has really made a difference in bringing all of us to this table.
Dr. Delgado, do you see that as a true partnership then, in terms of the
absolutely.
schools?
Yeah, I mean, I think keep in mind that this is all new for us in California. The LCFF hasn't been around that long, and the LCAP in particular, we had our first year last year in the implementation of that. And of course, the county office's role is to look in particular to Los Angeles to see what 80 of our school districts is doing with that. So we're learning together, and we're communicating. I think CSBA in particular is helping us to get together to talk about that as a state. So it'll be a learning process as we go along.
Dr. Bishop, you feel the same way? Are we still in the learning process here?
I think so. I think so. I agree that the adults, for the first time, I think are talking statewide. I really believe that it's important to hold the students at the center of those conversations, all students, really talk about equity for all students at the table, and really to include student voice as well as parent voice as we continue to implement these changes. So I'm excited more than ever before.
Josephine, I'll come back to you for a second, because school boards, they're the governance structure here. They're the leadership, along with the superintendents. You know, it's a great team that works together. Does this leadership truly understand the benefits here of what's taking place, and are you sharing those benefits?
Sure. I think this is, you know, change gives opportunity. So when you sort of shake up a system a little bit, sometimes you make people uncomfortable, but then you have to talk about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think this is an opportunity for us to focus on school boards and superintendents as a governance team. about the different roles that you play and how together you work towards making sure that the school system that you provide in your community meets the needs of all of the students in your community. It opens up another vehicle for school board members, who are elected by their community, and quite frankly, if you don't represent your community well, you're not reelected. So there's an incentive there to not just do the right thing, but to do the right thing well. And the goal is to listen to your parent community, to make sure, and I think it's not just to listen, but it's a two-way street. As an organization, you have to be able to provide data to your parent community so that they understand what's going on in your schools. So, for example, in our district, we've started to do video chats, and almost one a month. One on the new math curriculum. Our next set's going to be on the new language arts curriculum. Trying to make sure that the parents out there understand what the changes are in the district, how they're rolling out, so that when you bring them in to talk to you, there's a baseline of understanding. And I think that's a real key for school board members, is to make sure that the conversations that you have aren't just sort of a blanket, what do you want, but they're focused and they're data driven and they're focused on student achievement and trying to make sure with the limited resources that we have that we do meet the needs of every child and that there is a pathway for every child to have access to a quality education. It's an exciting time in California. It's a little unnerving, but it's an exciting time.
Justine, I might just turn to you again because you're kind of like our emotional touchstone here in a way, because we hear that the passion in different ways that comes out. What do you see as the ultimate results here? Because you talked before about, even though your children are a bit older now, type of thing, but in terms of what really is the payoff here in terms of all of the effort by school boards, superintendents, and organizations, what do you see as the payoff?
Well, I think in a lot of ways what we see is when families are engaged and the community's engaged and children feel supported, then they want to be at school and they want to be successful and they want to work at what they're doing, and it seems that the future is out there and it's attainable. And so, we want to make sure that we're giving our children, all of our children, as many skills as we can. We want to make sure that they are going to be our, world in the future. And I think when parents feel that they have a role in that and that they're communicating, everybody seems to be a little bit more into the pace of saying, maybe this is a little unnerving, but we're going to get there. And I know from talking with parents and even with kids, there's a lot of pride for a parent to be involved in their school community. And even though sometimes kids might say, oh, my mom is here, there's a lot of pride in that my mom or my dad or my grandma or my uncle or my big brother, they care about what's happening to me. And that's a big deal. And what we want to make sure happens is that we give our kids all of those skills. And with the new local control funding formula and the 8 state priorities that our school districts and our county offices are focusing on, we do want to make sure that we're talking about all those, because we do know what is great for kids and we want to make sure it happens.
Okay. Well, Mr. Thornton, I started with you. Yeah. So let's give you the last word in terms of what do you think should be the takeaway from our discussion about parents in schools? What do they get from this discussion that we've had so far?
Okay. Well, thank you, Frank. I would say, entire esteemed panel, thank you today for your insights and being here just to talk about the parent engagement and issues that are important to our families and schools. We know that there's power in advocacy and leadership. And it's how we use, these things to transform our schools and our neighborhoods into thriving communities and schools. And, and to see the bright eyes of young boys and girls and our future leaders and builders as we advocate for them. We understand that the true opportunity, starts and ends with access to a great education. And as demonstrated, in this discussion today, we underscored through ongoing research, when families are engaged and families and schools work together, students attend school more often, they earn higher grades, have better social skills, and just improved behavior. So I asked the parents to recommit your purpose to this purpose. PTA has always taken a great challenge with powerful practical solutions, which we've offered through our schools of excellence, our partnership standards, and we try to rally together around those who care about our children to solve some of our toughest education problems that we have. And our promise to you is that every child is very simple. We want your future to be better for every child. We want to be brighter and happier than our past. And let's just stay true to the promise that we've made. And let's stay engaged and work together because it's vital to the success of all our children and their schools.
Thank you. Well, this has been an important discussion, especially for anyone who has a stake in providing a great education to our children. I encourage you to keep the conversation going on the Twitter hashtag Take Your Family to School Week. You'll see it on your screen, and also at our website, www.lacoe.edu. Now, thanks to everyone here for sharing your invaluable insights in the ways to get and keep families engaged. I'm Frank Kwan, and thank you for joining us.